live? We're live. Cool. Share the screen too, and then I'm going to launch the recording. Yeah, amazing. So welcome to Synergies session in the MC. This session, okay, the same slide for expectations. But on this one, like this session is like. So for you people like that are watching this video,
it's mine. Okay.
Japrak and Laura thought that David forgot his wallet while going for lunch. Cool story, bros. So on this session I'm going to present you a couple of topics. So first, I'm trying to understand what the concept of synergy and the way it works in the MC. So then to present you like what are the synergies that we have in the MC currently and the way it works. The way it has been working on the full term 17-18 and the way it hasn't been working on the term 17-18, and to have a space for discussion at the end for 18-19. We need to have a bit more maybe MC members for them to as well interfere and have other inputs in terms of synergies. Because you will see fast that in terms of synergies, the strategies were behind products. So me as one head of product, I was kind of team leader, so managing synergies for all the synergies related to CXY, to OGV, and we had Hamza as MCVP CXP managing all the synergies related to IGT. Cool. So actually, this slide is a bit like David's sessions. What is synergy? I'm not going to show you the slide. How would you define synergy?
The cooperation.
Go. I was looking at my slide, but okay, go.
The cooperation between two or more people that it's needed in order to carry on a project.
Like co-creation of synergy.
Sorry, it's just because like she actually that is the reason I was like scared.
Of two or more, okay, I said people, but
okay, so Laura doesn't have access to my slide, no? Just for the record.
No, Laura is very clear, that's all.
Very international corporations of two or more. In this case, agents or like groups to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. Actually, this reflects a lot the line and the phrase that says like, alone you go fast, together you go further, and the idea of you need to work with people in order to achieve a bigger purpose. This is something that we actually tried to do in this term, and in AIESEC in France. Regarding the term 17-18, we had like different ways of seeing synergies and the ways of implementing synergies during the two semesters. And on the third semester, it's actually, to me, it's easy. It was not really happening. It was like, what we were missing was basic synergy planning and implementation. Because during the first planning, I don't know if you checked the documents of planning already, the planning of semester 1. If not, it's not on this presentation, but I can give it to you. You have only the planning of semester 2 in this presentation. But in terms of planning, like we decided to have big projects, big plans. So we had like Puissance OGV, so like boosting OGV as fuck. Then we had Ibiza project. Ibiza was from what I remember, was the one of sustainability. It was the project of sustainability. And then we had as well Starlight project for cultural change. So that were like the three big projects that we had, and that we were trying to put like efforts in and build synergies based on them. Didn't work. So like for instance, the Puissance OGV, what we understood was that Puissance OGV was actually CXY job description and CXY planning. So then you don't have synergies happening. It's like my basic planning, and then so I have my basic planning, but then with synergy it means that other people are getting in order to achieve something bigger. Then was the same for Ibiza and for Starlight, there were no synergies happening. So trying to rethink on what would be the project. And actually, so you had like the three main pillars of the first semester and three main strategies of the first semester that were not enabling spaces for synergies. So what happened in the first semester is that we didn't have synergy meetings, for instance, happening in the MC. Not much, like it was happening once in a while. So like we would be, oh yeah, I'm working on this. Noel, do you want to have like 10 minutes with me so that we can work on it? We can review this presentation, like we can review this project. Yeah, sure. Like book me my agenda in 2 days and then we'll see. So it was not like something constant and was not something in the agenda. Something that we tried to change, of course, in the second semester, understanding that we had some issues and we had some concerns in terms of implementation of this synergies, and that led as well to, like, in terms of downscaling to the entity, we saw that it had some pitfalls and it had some drawbacks and disadvantages. Because good, because, like, for instance, if you had to, because of, like, Synergies not being the best synergy on the MC level between digital marketing and CXY, for instance, then you would have the commission of CXY that would not receive, like, all the info on time, or, like, not information at 100%. So the second semester, we came to replanning as MC, understanding that Synergies were one of our main weaknesses. So you need to know that, you need to notice as well that, so that the first semester we had planning in August, end of August, and then we had quarter replanning. We had quarter review that turned out it was meant to be 1 day, it ended up in 4 days, and it was quarter replanning, and we still did not plan Synergies. So we still, like, did not spot this as being an issue in terms of working. What we saw at this moment was we had issues in terms of job description. So that is the only concern that we had at this moment. And the decision why, like, we reviewed all the job description, trying to reshift everything, but still not creating synergy spaces. So coming in January and seeing that Synergies is an issue and realizing it, try to have, like, one strategy that is develop our product performance. And focusing on our 2 products, so one incoming and one outgoing, so OGV and IGT, and having structures where the 2 MCPs operations, so Hamza for CXP and myself for CXY, would be leading somehow the Synergies. So during this 2 days, it was 2 days. Like, we had 3-hour space of planning Synergies of the second semester. And, like, for instance, on my side, I was sitting with all the MCVPs one by one, planning our Synergies. Like, we had, like, 30 minutes, like 20 to 30 minutes each, depending on as well, like, the relevance of having, like, a long meeting or not. Like, for instance, with TM, I had, like, a less long meeting at the end of the day than with digital marketing or, like, with another function, in order to see, like, what would be the main touch points that we should have and how we would work together throughout the term. And it worked in the same way for IGT. So what I was doing all the meetings for OGV, as I was having the same meetings for IGT, and was, like, working with the different MCVPs, trying to plan in terms of Synergies. Then in terms of what happened is that for CXY, it worked better than for CXP in terms of Synergies, because CXP, after replanning, we had another replanning, but only done by the MCVP, PD, and CXP, removing all the Synergies that he had. Because, like, you will see on the slide of CXP, but a lot of things have been, like, deprioritized in terms of Synergies, like for project for other MCVPs that didn't know how to actually support processes anymore. For instance, like, B2B marketing was completely deprioritized and was not a thing anymore, because of actually, like, as well, relationship between MCVPs didn't help into this thing of, like, building up Synergies. And you saw, like, a lot of MCVPs not finding their spots anymore in terms of how can I support a product. Because the idea of these strategies was to try to think beyond, okay, I'm MCP, CXY, MCP, OD, MCP, blah, 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 but it's to see how can I, with my skills, support the development of our product and the boost of our exchange performance. And in CXY, the way it was happening, it was we had, like, a weekly meeting. I still have actually weekly meetings with the MCVPs. So I have, like, a weekly touch point with some MCPs, and some I have, like, less frequently. But I have a weekly meeting with digital marketing each Wednesday. In the morning, I have a weekly meeting as well with finance to have a checkup on operations, etc., etc. But then I'm not going to spoil myself too much about it. So yeah, regarding this, in order for you to see, we have, like, different different, like, Synergies and different topics and main point of Synergies with the different MCVPs. So when it comes to outgoing products and the focus on OGV, you will see slides. You will see, like, boxes without CXY or, like, without CXP for the other, because CXY was, like, coordinating again all the Synergies. For instance, in my case, I was coordinating all the Synergies. And so with digital marketing, the main synergies for me was to have, like, so this B2C corner. We are the B2C corner. So I'm not by myself. I was understanding that I was not by myself as well, like the B2C corner. That was understanding that the team needed to have. That were two people working with business to customer, business to customer corner, and have like strategies that are like both online and offline. That was something that we're trying to work a lot. So, and strategies are both online and offline, and that are being aligned as well, because this was as well an issue that we had in the first semester, and we had like a huge misalignment between online and offline attraction and online and offline like strategies, MC and LC level. Another big project that we had was the EP hub that has been deprioritized because of like lack of manpower, because in terms of timeline, it was coming in like March, April, and like with all the politics and stuff that happened, like we had to review as well what would be our priorities. The good news somehow is that this is going to be reprioritized in the actually upcoming days. Next week, it's starting from next week, with an intern that will be coming and will be supporting us with the creation of this EP hub. And another thing was French Ambassador campaign. So that is the campaign of like the EPs that are being the members that are being abroad at the moment. Like there is a Facebook group for them in order to explain them as well, like how to do proper storytelling, how to properly promote their own experience. One thing that we're missing here is still like to make sure that actually people are reading the booklets that are being sent, and that people are understanding what is the content on there. Trying to actually run some consultancy spaces with Noel that didn't work throughout the semester. Like webinars is not something that worked that much in terms of downscaling of information as well. That's something that worked that much. And yeah, then like regarding like our weekly meetings with digital marketing, for instance, a lot of them were, so we would update ourselves regarding the project that were ongoing. So let's say like if we had like a promotional campaign that we wanted to plan, or like that wasn't going, so to check as well like what would be the results, how was the progress, and like if I actually needed something, or if I needed something in order to make it move regarding finance. Something that we implemented in the second semester as well, and that was not a thing before, was that is actually something that we don't do much on the MC level, and is to, if we want to have like to live a sustainable entity, we need as well to see like what are the financial goals somehow in terms of operations. I know it's sad to say it because we're like a non-for-profit organization, but financial goal is to make sure that we at least break even regarding like the one that we did this term was actually an easy one, and was to make sure that we break even compared to last term. Next term should be actually a bit more complex, because it's more about like thinking on, remember like with this MC fee, with this the LC is paying like contributing to the MC budget, then there is like still a big gap that needs to be filled, and this gap needs to be filled by 70% of exchanges and then 30% of external revenues. So in the 70% of exchanges, then you need to make calculations to see like what is the amount of exchanges that needs to come then from the LCs, so that you will get back as exchange fee, etc., etc. But yeah, so this term we try to do it like quite easy to make sure that we'll be like able to check it up on a weekly basis, and make sure that we'll be like still on track in terms of exchanges, and make sure that we will not be like too non-sustainable. Then regarding ECB support, that was like actually a synergy that was meant to be, that we started in the first semester with like finance, CXY and CXP, led by finance. Is the MCP finance that took the lead on the question of ECB. So the ECB is currently like held by the MCP finance. And on this, actually regarding this was mostly to make sure that whenever I had like an issue, like we would check up on the EPs and how was the process in terms of like what was happening with the ECB, to make sure that solutions were being found as well, and that a clear communication between operations and finance was done. Recommendation that we'll give after. And then contracts platform was to as well like have the idea of pushing all the contracts on the digital platform to be like more customer oriented. Thank you. TM, actually TM for CXY has been like fastly as well deprioritized, putting as well like first like weekly touch points, but then for like somewhat like stories, etc. But was from TM side was not a priority anymore, because you'll see as well on the document of planning, TM was the only synergy of CXP actually. for the second semester in the MC. So that is something that was quickly deprioritized on the MC level. So for instance, IXP, I remember like texting and like we were booking meetings for IXP and definition, and so we defined like promotion for IXP, and that was canceled like 20 minutes before the meeting. So like would not being the priority, so that we would focus on TM would be focusing on IXP, and I should dedicate my VPs on IXP as well on my side with like not aligned messages. So I was like, fuck that shit. National education cycle in CXY again, like so, not being this national education cycle for CXY is not fully updated. That is one of the actually only CXP is fully updated currently on the platform, the education cycle. So that was as well like not being a priority anymore. And team leaders we had a lot of projects as well for team leaders implementation, middle management implementation of the second semester. In terms of like delivering workshops and webinars for the team leaders that would be freshly selected in mid-January. And that did not happen as well for like changing of priorities as well. Then for OD, actually, OD was aimed to rebuild on the second semester the OGV growth path, because on the first semester, we were having meetings with OD in terms of like definition of what should be like criteria for like OD model regarding operations and performance, etc. But we understood that some criteria were not implementing on the first semester. We understood that it would not be relevant to keep some of them. So reviewing the entire OGV growth path on the second semester, and as well with the national strategies. So having a clear focus on OGV, making sure that we will not as well like push LCs to open OGT, like when they would be tier 3, like from tier 4 to tier 1, they would be tier 3. They should not be opening OGT like from tier 3 because it was like too estúpido. So that is something that are some stuff that we reviewed during the second semester. What was missing here was, for instance, implementation. Again, like is a lot of implementation, is a lot of things that are missing in this synergies. And what I'm saying, then like operation performance update and analysis. So on a weekly basis as well. So what the audit checkup that we had were before the MC meeting, and we were to see as well like in terms of how were the LCs moving in terms of performance compared to last term, and if they were like increasing or if they were decreasing. Because if you didn't know, I don't know if you knew, but like the goal of OD, one of the goals of OD is to have 80% of the LCs growing by 25%. On this term. So that is the goal of OD. That was the goal of OD. So as you know, like we had this weekly checkpoint to make sure that we had actually this LCs being on track, and that this would be happening. And some repeat challenge with this entire thing of RNI, and then trying to put competition that I already explained to you, that maybe we should review in terms of like criteria, etc., to make sure that collaboration is more happening as well within this some repeat challenge. PD, I put it here because I think that was not a stupid idea, and that should be rethink about the Global Ambassador Project, and with the idea of having companies funding EPs to go abroad on the GV and giving them like a fund. It's kind of the PwC fund globally. So that was the idea. That was deprioritized from the national level because of merge of the function PD and CXP, and then tried to be downscaled to one LC. So in this case, was a question of IT Sud, that the MCPPD started working with, so Hamza started working with Christian in IT Sud and MCPPD. But then with the LCPPD/events was as well like not being focusing on anything and was like doing a lot of stuff, so was deprioritized as well. And then MCP, in the case of CXY, was somehow like supporting and reinforcing IR during IPM. So like I wasn't going to IPM, so I sent him like he had presents to give to the main entity partners, and then have like discussions with them and conversations with them, so that we will make sure as well that they know that with MC, between MCP as well, like they're kind of bonded. NLCP education on CXY processes, like create like booklets for the LCPs and a presentation that I gave during LCP Summit in the beginning of the second semester in order to make sure that LCPs would be on board as well on what were the CXY processes. So what were CXY processes? Because a lot of LCPs were not educated on it. I had no idea of how to run the processes, and then how to work with their LCP CXY. Regarding IGT, so IGT is going to be like slightly faster. Is with digital marketing is like a lot for personal reasons that it was deprioritized, and like B2, and I'm putting like smiley, like loudly crying, because I think like there was on personal sense, I think like there was like a huge window to play here, and that did not happen for stupid, childish reasons. So please make sure that that adult behavior are happening in teams, and that you cannot deprioritize project because you don't like someone. That is not being professional. Regarding finance, is actually so. Yeah, PD is the same person. Don't spoil the session. But regarding finance is. So it's mostly with Leah from semester, like they had this contract review, and then slightly moving fast in the second semester was investments review, because in this function we've been investing way more than we've been actually having revenues. So it was more to analyze like what were the investments that we're putting into this function, and how are we doing in terms of like revenues, but not happening that much. And then visa process on MC level, because as you might have noticed, Martin, as MCVP Finance, is taking care of visa processes of all the EPs on the national level. So that is as well something that needs to be reviewed, because it's a big chunk of a JD, and that for an MCVP Finance is like complicated to handle everything at the same time. With TM, like main synergy was the national education cycle, that was fully done. So that is one of the GCP of MC, and in terms of synergy is that this TM and CXP synergy worked well in terms of education cycle. I think again, like from this side, so the personal relationship helped as well in terms of, because then people would appreciate themselves, it would work better and more easily. So that is like BCP, BGC. So here's the GCP. And I told you that is the only education cycle out of the 5 commissions that is fully completed. Like in MCP is not completed, CXY is not completed, and in finance, so actually in finance it's kind of because you take the LCP Academy that is done by GFB. OD, so Identity Growth Path, actually I put it, but that was not a priority at all, so that was not like fully done. Summer Peak Challenge, that was done actually, that I redefined when I became MCP operations, I was the one redefining the criteria for Summer Peak Challenge with MCP OD, David, and it's supporting value delivery in the MC level on the beginning of the second semester. After realizations, David was supporting in terms of IPS and value delivery on site for EPS on national level. So yes, that is a structure that when we change it, because before that in the first semester was Leah, the MCP CXP, that was taking care of the value delivery of MCP PD, of the EPs of the MCP PD. So this is what happened. So PD was the same person, so no synergy needed. And with MCP was mostly simplification on the CXP processes in the same way as for CXY, with a space given at a quick space was given at the LCP summit, but that was not much. That was a space given at CX at lead, the lead in January, and with another booklet as well on how to work with like LCP and LCVP CXP, and with the different LCVPs. The booklet was created, I know. I don't know if it was shared, but I know that this booklet was created in terms of how the synergies should be working on the local level, and how should the LCP be tracking the synergies. With DVP Finance, for instance, having this extra member only supporting with like visa processes for the incoming EPs, etc., etc. And IR started at IPM because in terms of incoming, there was no IR happening. So what happened is that when Mo went to IPM, one of the ideas was Mo to develop IR during IPM, but like for the second semester. But the thing is that entities already have like their entity partners, and we don't have the supply to give them. We don't have opportunities to present them. So that is something that has been as well like a failure. But like other small synergies, you have like it's not small synergies, but it's like synergies that were not like directly like regarding to one product. And I don't know if I was forgetting one of them, so that's the reason I wanted to ask for others to join in. But one of them was digital marketing and OD, with the shift of internal communication on the second semester, and like this with the R&R challenge. So the Summer Peak Challenge as well was a big synergy between OD and digital marketing, like with weekly touch points, etc., etc. MCP and OD with LCP commission management, as OD to cover the second half of the second semester on the commission management in order to support to relieve MCP with some tasks and allow MCP to support with other activities. And as well redefining the JD of OD. MCP and finance budget review actually did not happen that much, not as much as it should have been happening, because this synergy is actually one of the most important. Like as you read in the compendium, if this person dies, this person becomes MCP, basically, and this person should be the one that has the overview on the team after this person. And this hasn't been much happening as well. Yeah, personal stories as well. Like not much happening. So yeah, think as well on making sure that you're not the one responsible for this. You're not going to be the one like asking them to make Marie-Manuel and David making sure that they have this touch point on a weekly basis. But either way, like when you see that this is planned on a bi-weekly basis and that the budget that is being collected at an MCM is planned expenses and like executed expenses, the planning versus achieved in terms of expenses and revenues is like a bit shady, and you don't understand because there was no actually checkup between the two people before. Make sure to speak up as well from your side. And PD and finance as well. So actually it's the same as for CXP. It was the budget reviews. Yeah, go.
I see XP and finance, PD and finance, marketing and finance for investment.
So okay, so what happened is that in terms of marketing and finance and investment, when we had the B2C checkups, so that was like a three people meeting, finance was joining. When we had these meetings about investment, so that because the thing is that in terms of budget as well, the budget were under two products. It was OGV and IGT. So all the expenses, like we had this meeting with Noel. Actually, it's Noel that was taking care of all the. I didn't want to spend money, so Noel was the one that needed money for more marketing expenses. So Martin would join in these meetings and we would like first approve the budget and the beginning of the planning, and then review expenses and then return on investment as well. So he would come and join in some meetings to see, like for instance, the Open Boost campaign that we had. That is the last campaign that we had. So it was like a 300 euros investment that we had from the MC, and to see as well like on a weekly basis. So what was the return on investment, the three of us, in terms of this project, and then presenting it to the MC. Do you have any other question?
I have one list.
Go.
I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, go. Give it a
try. MC meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these split meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You were managing the synergy. What you were doing during MC meeting?
Okay.
I don't know if.
No. That is okay. So what I'm going to do in the same time is that maybe to go further, it's going to be for the discussion space. I didn't create it very quickly, but I think you have access to. Do you have access to Master Tracker? Cool. Okay, so you have access to it. So you have the planning of the second semester, and you have as well the planning of the synergies. So in this document, you can see. In terms of MC meeting, so what would an MC meeting look like? I'm not sure there's a session about it, so I don't care. So first you'll have like exchange performance review for outgoing first and then incoming. So to review like how was the performance in terms of planning versus achieved, for actually all the lines for the three outgoing products and two incoming products. Then you'd have a space for the LC's performance. And the question of are the LCs growing or are the LCs decreasing, and by how much are they growing and how much are they decreasing. Then you'd have actually the MCM like changed a lot. You understood that this MC changes a lot, and that is like trying to be more agile than this entity is. Then you'd have a space for SONA, so SONA analysis, because you had like the answers on a weekly basis. The MCM was happening on the Tuesday, and SONA deadline is on the Monday evening. So analysis happening on the Tuesday morning. So with that, you'd see like what would be like the three main concerns of the LCs, and then recommendations from MCPOD, so that we could approach our LC coaches with these recommendations in terms of, okay, so how can we support them? Yeah, this is documents. It's loading, but this is documents. Then after that, you would have achievements. So what were the discipline or whatever that happened in the week, in the network, or in the team. Then you have Before that, I forgot, we have as well the finance review, so the budget review, to make sure to see as well like where's our cash flow at, and what were like the main big expenses or big revenues that are coming. After that, you have the red flags, so all the hot topics that we're discussing one by one, and to see like what are going to be the action that we should be taking regarding each of these topics. And then you have a focus on next week of each MC member, plus action added of MCN, and what is the support needed from different MC units. So, and then like parking lot. But that is the way like we have been running the MC meetings currently.
Cool.
And now it's like for you, it's more that I wanted you to use this document so that you can see, like we have 20 minutes, up to 20 minutes to see so what's next and like what should be like maybe point of improvement in terms of synergies that you see. Knowing as well that in terms of synergies, a big thing that you will have like a big space of it during planning, because when you will define properly like what is going to be the job description, you will see on, okay, so then what is going to be like what are going to be the touch points that you will have. But you might have like some point first on what could be improved from what happened this term. And that's the reason why I'm here as well, is that you can ask me questions if there's things that are still not clear in terms of what has been working, what hasn't been working this term, so that you make sure that you not commit the same mistake. Cool?
Yeah. I have a question.
Go.
For the projects that were deprioritized, besides personal problems and so on, who, like, is that conscious decision that you guys make, the persons concerning the synergy, or is it like, suddenly I don't have time to work on this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It actually like depended on the people as well, and on the people working side, because you'd have some people in this team that would be just ignoring, like living in denial, and be like, at some point you're like, okay, it's too late, like fuck off, like I'm not going to. I know that personally, like when I'm like I will try to talk to someone, and if the person is living in denial, at some point I'm like, okay, now it's too late, I'm not going to do it, so deprioritize. Bye bye. I have other things to do, so move forward. But it happened maybe once, but it was during the first semester that one project, like the leadership promoter score promotion. So the leadership promoter score is a measure that AI was meant to implement last term. That was like a huge thing at IC. And it was meant to measure how much AIESEC was a leadership organization. So basically, the EP would have to answer an extra question while filling out the standard survey, and asking them if they would recommend AIESEC as a leadership development organization. If yes, then you have +1. If no, then you have 0. And then one of the idea was to push this project last semester with MCVP TM actually, and was like deprioritized, but the both of us, because we knew that actually there was not much initiative from AI happening after IC. And like we had other things to deal with. Like, for instance, I was conference manager of Spark, so like we both agreed on that is not a project that we can work on. But I haven't seen this much happening, like 2 people sitting and saying that, okay, we cannot make this happen. This is the reason why, and then we can move forward.
So it was not clear communication at the end. That was the main reason.
Like it increased in the second semester, but.
And what's next for me? Fix it. Like when I say fix it, like communication, like the synergies, like fix it. For example, Monday at 9, B2C, always like at 11. Like whatever, just make sure that there's like this space on your agenda.
Should be really, really smart. Maybe, I don't know, do before a meeting that could be useful for a meeting, or do MC meeting before or after. MC meeting as set the priorities, or MC meeting to check what we did. It depends, but should be really, really smart. And
also keeping each other accountable and like fixing kind of common goals, like complementary common goals during the synergy, so we can say, okay, so for this we have 1 week, then after 1 week we sit together and say, okay, did we do it? It's okay, we can move on. Like we're kind of
more than that, for each synergy or for each common project or whatever, I would always put a final responsible. even if it's something, for example, between you two, but for it's you, and even it's gonna be you like pushing him and making sure that everything goes on track. Because if you don't have one head to adjust the responsibility, there's nobody gets to deal with. So if there are priorities or if there's other concerns or something, it's easier to let it go. You know, not as a synergy, like you responsible of synergy B2C, but these things
Some
that you're
projects.
working on, if you
Like
give
head of
everything, it's
project.
again, yeah, exactly. So subdividing and put timeline for sure and Mondays and whatever, but final responsible. So if something is not working, it's like, okay, you guys, bye, go. Very clear how it's put here.
An MC meeting, in my opinion, should not be just space for review, but a space for everyone that know what the fuck is happening in the other areas and to give perspective. Even if I am marketing CXY, say, okay, this is situation CXY and CXP has an idea. Just really, I don't know if you got the point, no? Not just, okay, this is the meeting, review, what happened.
Okay, no reporting, but contribution.
Yes, to really, yes, contribution to, right?
Discussions.
I was in the structure of the meeting that I I'm a little bit confused, sorry.
No more discussion.
Account review plan, no? Account review plan, really easy, but what, for example, worked a lot in EP meeting, when we did EP meeting, is that everyone could give their perception about other areas. They helped a lot, for example. And that's why maybe it's useful to set a smart timeline of the meeting that
Like this, as far as I understood, because this is how we do it. So, for example, when you present the master tracker or the plan of, the thing is, when you have the reporting system that we do, for instance, so for example, one day before or several hours before the meeting, you put reports on a common drive concerning the MCM, EBM, whatever, and each one of the members of the whatever, comment. So you dissolve some issues before the MCM, so you don't have to allocate time
for reporting.
Yeah.
Yes, we made, for example, the evening before the meeting. It was a fixed day. Made this report, presentation, pretty easy. You put your data, you put your bottleneck, red flags, and highlights of the week and the stuff. And there was a space, really concrete, really about the area, about the next step. That's it. Yes. But I think it's important. And one thing that I feel, too many things, so and I guess we have to really understand is the final responsible to manage this synergy. To me, it's really, really important. I don't know how, because I don't know how it was for you. When you worked at a certain point, or it would be better if someone one of the people will help you to manage the series. I don't know.
But the thing is that it's in this case like the third and second semester. So I'm saying with all our synergies. And we would not, the thing is that we will not have to report to anyone. So that is something that maybe put an improvement first. But as well, something that is that needs to be taken into consideration is that me as MCP6Y, I don't think that my role is to run after like MCP to MCP marketing, then MCP finance, then MCP TM to make sure that everything's happening. Like during this the studio planning, like I book my meeting with them to make sure that I will have this weekly meeting with them, so weekly touch point. One thing that you said that wasn't smart was this. I say smart because you're smart, but it was a smart timeline in terms of MCM and the synergy meetings, because we have the MCM on the Tuesday morning, but we have the synergy meetings of B2C, for instance, on Wednesday morning. So actually, it's like it should be ideally the opposite, but then you should have as well the MC meeting on Wednesday, and you have actions to take for the LCs. You're as well being delayed, so you don't have enough. So there's like this thing of the balance. It's always like a story of balance to find. Martin likes to say, I don't know why, but I have this in mind since Neutenta is like neither 8, neither 80, so neither small, neither like extreme. And like there's always a balance to find, and here as well there's a proper balance to find in terms of finding responsible, and in terms of the time as well of the different meetings. I don't have Monday as Monday meetings, I don't know, and then you have like all the meetings on Monday, so you know that on your Monday agenda, no one can book you. It's all of you like having all of your synergy meetings, and then in the evening you have MC meeting.
That could be, I think. Like either that, either for instance, like MCM on Wednesday, it's for me so like mid.
It's cutting your week into
Yeah, either Friday, either Monday. Not even Friday, but like I would put it on Monday and say like, okay, week's priorities, we did this, then we review next week. But for me, this is.
That's why I said it's important in my opinion to find a responsible guy.
Yeah.
For MCM, I think.
Yeah, for MCM,
no. For this synergy, because I am for me, it's important to respect each one's responsibilities. CXY has a huge responsibilities. I think that it's not fair. I'm honest that CXY should manage all the people of team. So it's important to find, kind of team leader of synergy.
It should be like other positions. But also something I think take into consideration is that I know that when this decision was made, I personally wasn't part of this decision process. Again, like make sure to be involved into this. You don't find out during time that, hey, by the way. Because I know that it's based on the personality of people, some like often. And I'm seen as a structured person in this team, so that's the reason why I was like, Buba, you can do this thing and you can like handle this like all the synergy meetings, etc. You can be finally responsible. So I know that this is as well like somehow as well it's actually counting. The thing is that if you do this as well, you're saying to some MC members, because I know that you're not going to be like you're not going to be keeping up. I'm not even trusting you with this. And they will not put effort in it actually, because if you don't tell them directly that but you're saying that we all know that Buba is like structured because everyone is saying that Buba has a structure, etc. He's organized, productive, etc., etc. So I'm giving it to Buba, and Buba is going to be like, it's no surprise for everyone. It's like no surprise, and people will be not feeling empowered as well in terms of. So yeah.
In the end, you cover just 300 VP positions.
Just.
Oh my. What's next? Yeah, for me, like clear MOS weekly, like weekly MOS, and kind of like starting with the plan. In the planning, like we will plan the synergies obviously, and what is the final project and final MOS of each. But since we have a lot of problems of implementation, it would be nice to like kind of make this MOS in smaller parts and make sure that we track them weekly, and this will actually really ease up the implementation process. And have like quarter goals, like having goals for each little timelines. That's for me, it's important because I have a problem with implementation too, like personally.
Yeah. So something that I did not mention, but that I think should be like as well room for improvement is in terms of all the synergy meetings. I will be taking note on my computer. And then send like an email but it's not in the tracker. So I have everything in my computer, like in my notes, Evernote. I use Evernote, so I have everything in my notes. But I will not put it in a tracker, so I will not have like. So I would just put in my computer. Okay, on the next meeting, was it done? Was it not done? Was it done? Was it not done? But there's not like a proper no one can see it apart from me. So yeah, there's this thing as well a lot that you have a tracker that all the MC has access to, and then. Actually,
you want to do a final present for just.
But actually, I was thinking even it can be her transition.
Yeah, we can help you like find a project of creating a Google Sheet together.
Hey, you know that actually now I'm glad I'm feeling better that I know that Aldo is here and that Aldo knows how to use spreadsheet.
Yeah, because he was
I feel bad for you as well.
It will be okay.
But yeah, I don't know. Actually, you see, like, even think about, I don't know, having an external. You can have a BOA member that could be, I don't know, supporting and making sure that you're being accountable for the synergy meetings. And you have one BOA member that is like.
I mean, can't we put it in the report? That we.
Yeah, no, you have different ways.
Way? Like, for example, if.
No, we don't have this
you
thing
don't
of.
do a report. So, for example, if we would do reports before, like just put synergy meeting done, MOS was this, what was done, this. So that everyone knows and MCP is the one, after all, accountable.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Something that I can see in this office is a scoreboard.
It was
A scoreboard with all the MOS, all the area, all the. And
okay, because.
I think that we should divide it in not department, but I think that the main synergy should gain their whole space, work together, and so do stuff. And okay, maybe here should be the operation with marketing, applicant GP, GT, and kind of stuff. You know, to be. I think it's important that to be really simply organized, really in a visible way.
Like having reminders of
that's it. This is operation. Let me check. I am finance. I want to see what is happening. I don't have to ask or remind to go to the MCP and say, "Oh, what is it? Tell me what is happening." Or I need to wait for the MC meeting to know what is happening in the area. Or need to open. I think I truly believe in this pretty visual.
Yeah. We had the board there that we were updating, and then we had the screen here. That is here now because it doesn't belong to us; it does belong to Hamza. So putting it here. But no. But not that. I think that is a good idea. And even like in terms of workplace redesign, I think that it's important that this happens.
Yeah.
Is that we already did it when we started our term, because before that was this room was darker than that, and you had OD, marketing, and finance in this room, and you had the rest of the MCPs and the MCP in the other room. But like no actual no strategies in terms of okay who was sitting with who, for instance. And even this term when we decided to sit all of us was mostly actually in terms of the space we would use on the table. That is the way we split the spaces. So yeah.
Ciao. I think it should be a huge part of planning, like workplace design, because it's important.
It is important, the workplace design. Yeah. Last comment.
I know you are.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
We all know you
as
have.
I know.
Laura, do not disappoint us.
But also I say,
Were you sticking up with the notes? The notes you want to have with me tonight? Where is it?
Oh,
okay.
It doesn't fit here.
Okay.
No, it was most related to kind of like advices. In the sense of, how can we
Go.
happens, and we cannot count that they will be perfect all the time. So
something that I
prevent, not like prevent.
Something that's happening and that even me didn't do was personal expectation settings. Settings 101, like one by one, because in terms of, I have never sat, for instance, with Noel and saying that, okay, this is the way we should work, and this is like, these are my boundaries, these are the boundaries, so I wouldn't understand them, and I would understand that this is the space that we have in between. We need to work together, and that is something that, for instance, with my team, I never did it as well. But I know the person, and I know the way it works, and he just for me. Level. And then on the second semester, I think that was not even a topic of conversation to have B2B happening. And the thing is that would not have B2B. Like, you don't need to have attraction happening for B2B because they're doing this job for you.
So maybe if we put more efforts in PD 6P, we can
actually, yeah. So the good thing on the second semester was, so the MCP digital marketing world became like B2C. She was fully on B2C,
and then we have CXP and PD.
Yeah, because CXP and PD, and they have the Red Guru, so the Red Guru is the B2B. That is the B2B support, and if they by nurturing this thing properly, then account management, etc., then reopening opportunity is going to be easy. Should be.
So B2C is the key.
Yes. Cool.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Grazie, Buba.
Be there soon because I'm giving the next session.
Do we have a break?
Yeah, go.
When?